Hello, TOON ARMY! What an absolutely brilliant day to be talking about our beloved Newcastle United, isn't it? There's nothing quite like the feeling of supporting the best team in the world, and I've got some absolutely crackling news to discuss with you today. Now then, before we dive deep into today's stories, I've got two burning questions for you magnificent supporters. What do you reckon about Liverpool fans being absolutely gobsmacked at our Alexander Isak's 200 million price tag? Are we finally showing the world what we've always known about our Swedish sensation? And how do you feel about us potentially moving away from Guehi and looking at alternative defenders? Should we be disappointed or excited about exploring new options? Drop your passionate thoughts in the comments below, because I know you Geordies have plenty to say. Right then, let's talk about something that's had me grinning from ear to ear all week. Our absolutely phenomenal striker, Alexander Isak, has got Liverpool fans in complete meltdown after Newcastle made it crystal clear that if anyone wants our Swedish superstar, they'll need to cough up nearly 200 million for the privilege. And honestly, watching their reactions has been better entertainment than any comedy show. You see, this whole saga started when reports emerged suggesting Liverpool were ready to table a British record bid for our Isak. Now, as Newcastle supporters, we all know exactly what Alexander brings to our team. He's not just a striker, he's our crown jewel, our main man, our absolute game changer. But it seems like the rest of the football world is only just catching up to what we've known all along. The beauty of this situation is how Newcastle have handled it. We didn't mess about with negotiations or playing games. We simply made our position abundantly clear. If you want Alexander Isak, you're looking at paying close to world record money for him. That $200 million price tag isn't just a number pulled out of thin air. It's a statement that says we value our players properly, and we're not a selling club anymore. What's absolutely brilliant is reading the Liverpool fans' reactions on social media. One supporter said Isak isn't worth 100 million, never mind 150, 200 million, claiming you'd need to be getting Haaland or Prime Kane for that money. Another called it way too much, while one particularly deluded fan suggested Newcastle lives in La La Land for wanting 200 million for the second best striker in the league. Disorder. But here's the thing that really gets me excited. Some Liverpool fans actually get it. One sensible supporter pointed out Isak's incredible goals-to-game ratio and acknowledged that his numbers aren't easy to replace. They even admitted that if Liverpool had a player of Isak's caliber, they wouldn't sell for less than $150 million either. That's the kind of realistic thinking we need to see more of in football. The reality is that Alexander Isak has been absolutely sensational for Newcastle United. Since joining us, he's shown exactly why he's worth every penny of that massive valuation. His pace, his finishing, his intelligence in the box, his ability to create something from nothing. These aren't qualities you can just replace by popping down to the transfer market with a few million quid. What makes this even more satisfying is knowing that Eddie Howe and our ownership group are completely committed to building around Isak. We're not looking to cash in on our best players anymore. We're looking to surround them with even more quality. The reports about us being in talks for Brighton's João Pedro aren't about finding a replacement for Alexander. They're about creating an unstoppable partnership that will terrorize Premier League defenses next season. The fact that Yasir Al-Rumayyan personally told the club to keep Isak at all costs after his February visit shows just how important our Swedish striker is to Newcastle's future. It's not just about what he brings on the pitch, though that's obviously massive. It's also about what he represents commercially and how he fits into our long-term vision of becoming one of Europe's elite clubs. Liverpool fans being shocked at the price tag is actually brilliant news for us. It shows that other clubs are starting to realize they can't just come knocking at St. James's Park, expecting to pick up our best players on the cheap. Those days are long gone, and it's about time everyone else caught up with that reality. The contract negotiations currently ongoing between the club and Isak are crucial. Getting him tied down to a longer deal would send a clear message to the entire football world that Newcastle United means business. We're not here to develop players for other clubs. We're here to build something special with the talent we have. Now then, let's shift our focus to the Guehi situation, because this is where things get really interesting from a tactical and strategic standpoint. While some Newcastle fans might be feeling a bit disappointed that Liverpool have suddenly thrown their hat into the ring for the Crystal Palace defender, I reckon there's actually more to celebrate here than meets the eye. First off, let's be honest about what's happened. Mark Guehi was absolutely Eddie Howe's top defensive target last summer, and we all remember how that transfer saga played out. We went as high as $70 million for the England international, showing just how much we rated him and how serious we were about bringing him to Tyneside. The fact that Crystal Palace held firm and kept their captain was frustrating at the time. But sometimes these things work out for the best in ways we don't initially see. Fast forward to this summer, and the landscape has completely changed. Guehi is now in the final year of his contract, which should theoretically make him more affordable and more attainable. Palace are looking at potentially losing their star defender for nothing next summer if they don't cash in now, which puts them in a much weaker negotiating position than they were in 12 months ago. But here's where it gets fascinating. Newcastle have apparently been looking at alternative options instead of pursuing Guehi again. Now, some might see this as us missing out or not being ambitious enough, but I think it shows exactly the kind of smart, forward-thinking approach that's going to serve us well in the long run. Think about it from Eddie Howe's perspective. He's had an entire season to assess our defensive needs, watch how our current center-backs have performed, and identify exactly what type of player would best complement our system. Maybe that detailed analysis has shown him that there are better fits out there than Guehi, players who might suit our style of play even more effectively. The fact that we're being linked with players like Ousmane Diomande, even though he's apparently heading to Crystal Palace as Guehi's potential replacement, shows that our scouting network is casting a wide net and looking at emerging talents who might offer better value and longer-term potential than established names. What's particularly clever about our approach is that we're not getting drawn into bidding wars or panic buying. Liverpool's interest in Guehi has reportedly driven his price up to around $50 million, with Crystal Palace hoping to get top dollar for their departing captain. Compare that to the $40 million we were apparently hoping to pay, and you can see why we might be looking elsewhere. This is exactly the kind of disciplined transfer approach that successful clubs adopt. We're not going to overpay for players just because they have a certain profile or reputation. We're going to find the right player at the right price who fits our system perfectly. That's how you build sustainable success, rather than just making expensive mistakes. The Liverpool factor is interesting here too. Guehi apparently prefers a move to Anfield, which tells us everything we need to know about where his head is at. Do we really want to be signing players who see Newcastle as their second choice? Absolutely not. We want players who are desperate to pull on the black and white stripes, who understand what this club means and what we're trying to achieve. What excites me most about this situation is that it demonstrates how our transfer strategy has matured. We're not just throwing money at big-name targets anymore. We're being smart, strategic, and patient. Eddie Howe and the recruitment team clearly have a plan, and they're sticking to it rather than being swayed by external pressure or media speculation. The defense is obviously an area where we need to strengthen, particularly on the right side of our center-back partnership. But finding the right player is more important than finding the most obvious player. Sometimes the best signings are the ones that surprise people, the players who might not have the biggest reputation, but who fit perfectly into the system and exceed expectations. I'm genuinely excited to see who we do end up bringing in as our defensive reinforcement. Knowing Eddie Howe's track record with identifying and developing defensive talent, I have complete faith that whoever we sign will be exactly what we need. Remember how skeptical some people were when we signed players like Fabian Schär or Dan Burn? Both of them have been absolutely brilliant for us, proving that sometimes the best signings aren't always the most expensive or high-profile ones. The fact that we're being methodical and patient in our approach, while other clubs rush into expensive deals, shows exactly why Newcastle United is heading in the right direction. We're building something sustainable here, something that will last for years rather than just making a quick splash in the transfer market. Well, that's all from St. James's Park for today, lads and lasses. Whether it's watching Liverpool fans squirm at Isak's price tag, or seeing our smart approach to the defense situation, there's plenty to be optimistic about as we head into what promises to be another exciting season. Keep supporting the best team in the world, and I'll be back with more updates soon. Away the lads!